All right. Hello, everybody. Again, this is Tom Randolph from GoldenCare. I want to welcome you today to this webinar on our Pivot consumer presentation. And just a little introduction. You know, I've been with GoldenCare for a long time. I'm in my 27th year here just at GoldenCare. I was in the training business before that. Most of you on this call probably know who I am. You know, I can't get by without doing my old joke about Clooney because you don't want to look at my ugly mug, but I do that for my staff because they give me a hard time. But long story short, I'm really looking forward to doing this presentation today. I'm going to just do a full disclaimer, even though this will be recorded, is that I've been on the phone calls and on different webinars all day today. So we're just tweaking some last minute things on the actual presentation for the consumers because we wanted to make it as good as possible and keep expanding it. So hopefully today we'll get through without any glitches, because sometimes when I have a pivot presentation, you're going to see there's a lot of different links in there. So I want to make sure that everything's working the way we planned it. I promise before we send it out to you, we'll do a thorough check of it and make sure that that presentation is ready to roll. So bear with me today if there's any problems. But in a nutshell, without spending a lot of time on this part, because there's a lot I could go through today, if I showed you everything this consumer pivot presentation could do, I joke with my staff that I get long-winded the way it is. This could be a 4-hour webinar, but I do want to just let you know a method to our madness. And I've been doing long-term care a long time. I've had the blessing and pleasure and opportunity to give literally over 100 live, I always say webinars, but live seminars and educational seminars to seniors who actually are coming in through our agencies that we work with. And, you know, it was great. And as time went on, I realized there was some adverse selection, right? All of a sudden I go out and I tell them how great long-term care is, because we were doing just about all long-term care. We've helped sell over $1 billion worth of long-term care over the years. And it was great. But then all of a sudden it got to the point where in about 2003, the company started having some problems with claims, and they started realizing their underwriting was a little too lenient, et cetera. So they tightened up on the underwriting and made these products a little bit tougher to get. So then it got a little frustrating because I'd go out and do these seminars and all of a sudden realize half the class there was going, hey, you know what, I can't offer you this long-term care. I'm glad I told you how great it is, but it's something that we just won't go through the underwriting. So we all know the reason why. There's a lot more meds today. We have people who just have shoe boxes full of medications. We know the whole story about obesity in America and diabetes, where, you know, the old pre-diabetic thing where people say, no, I'm not diabetic, I'm pre-diabetic. My doctor has me on a couple of meds. You know, underwriters look at that as basically saying they're diabetic, right? So we know if you look at some of these declines, this stat's probably a little bit even old down there at the bottom, is that there is big declines when you get into the 65, 70 plus market. There's a lot of people you're just not going to be able to help with traditional long-term care. And that's why we're on this webinar, and this is why we really expanded into the extended care market to not only include the very important traditional long-term care and these hybrid plans, but we wanted to expand and say, you know, that's great. That's the best dollar leverage you can get for your dollar if you can get through underwriting. And when you have younger people, long-term care traditionally and some of those hybrids are tremendous opportunities. So don't get me wrong, but the problem is when you spend money on leads nowadays, it's not cheap. It's expensive, and you go out there and you don't get the 8% response like we used to in the old days. Now you're spending a lot of money to try to get in front of people for long-term care and extended care opportunities. So you want to make the most of it, and more importantly, you want to help more people. We've got a huge aging crisis in America today that I could bore you to tears talking about, but there's a lot of gray hair, and 70% of the folks are going to need some type of extended care. And most people have never had a real conversation about it. So we really want to help our agents. And what we've done in the last 10 years or so is tried to do this paradigm shift to say, you know, don't go out and just sell long-term care by itself. You can't do it. It's basically an uphill battle. Most agents know they have to have other products to back it up. Most agents are still at that stage in the second one there where they're saying, hey, I'm going to try to get long-term care for you, but if it doesn't work, I have some other products that are pretty good too. And that's fine, and that helped. But now we're really switching over to saying, you know, the key is you got to really change the paradigm shift. We have products out there to help just about anybody, no matter how unhealthy they are, right? We know on that bottom right there, those are tremendously strong products. But I'll tell you what, the health questions on those things are basically saying, hey, are you getting care right now, or are you in a facility? If you're not, we can get something for you, okay? So what we're trying to do is look at the future of our business. You can see this says 2021, because this is when we first started using this pivot presentation. in the format that it's in now. And again, just now we revised it so it's even stronger. But basically what we're trying to do is say, you know what, you still might have half, that might even not be half anymore, the Mutual Omaha and those traditional long-term care plans, but we're going to have a lot of these other plans filling that pie. And your pie is going to look a lot different from anybody else's. This is just an example of showing that we can go out and help a tremendously large percentage of people we're talking to if we do it right. And part of that is doing a pivot presentation. So that's where I'm leading into showing you today what I'm going to walk through with the actual pivot presentation itself. And again, I'm not going to go through every part of this, because if I did, it would take a long time. There's a lot of moving parts, but I will show you a method of the madness, hopefully, and you'll see the value of it when we get done with this. And hopefully you'll see that this might be something that really could work well with your clients, because as you'll see from these, you buy these plans nowadays more with your with your health than you do with your checkbook. So that's what the pivot presentation was designed to do. And now today, what I'm going to show you, if you were on this presentation before, half a year ago or a year ago, we had this presentation with a bunch of different underwriting guides inside the presentation itself. Now we developed that InstaPivot tool that I'm going to show you, that hopefully you're going to see is just going to be a game changer and make your life so much easier in the trenches, so you can go out and help more people protect themselves and their families. So in a nutshell, remember what the pivot presentation is. It starts out as a true, just a long-term care type presentation, right? We talk about the aging. You got to develop the need a little bit after you do your warm-up. And when you get into the fact, there's different facts on here. And again, I'm not going to read all these slides to you by any stretch today. I just want to show you that they're there. These are kind of just warm-up slides. A lot of you'll use different stories, and a lot of you'll talk a little bit about the need for it using your own style. This is just to help you do that, okay? And one of the things you're going to see in here is that if you click on down here, there's a heart button. And if I click on that heart button, it'll immediately send me over to the health questions if I want to go there, okay? So I can do that at any time using that heart button. So just remember that if I decide I don't want to use these slides, I can jump to the health. And I also will be able to jump over to this resource guide at any point in the presentation. I'm going to show you that. Notice every slide I'm showing you has this little page down here in the lower left. That's an instant link to go to our resources page. And I'm going to do it just real quick here. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but you're going to see there's tons of different resources here that you can use. And at any time in your presentation, you can jump over to here, and you're going to see a lot of these here are all the different things for the different carriers that you can have, so you can quickly go to their e-app site or to their place where you can start the application process. So this, you don't ever want to hinder yourself with the presentation by not having it, but you also want to have the ability to go in here. And I'm going to come back later and show you more of these tools, because one of the things you're going to see when you're doing off-site selling, one of the powers of it is that you can go over and have everything you need in front of you. And we're going to talk more about that in a few minutes, because it's a really important part of being successful when you're doing sales over the phone or through a screen share process, is you want to make sure you have everything right there so you can feel comfortable as an agent, and your client feels comfortable knowing that you can help them out. So at whatever point I jump over to this resources, and again, we'll see this page several times in the next half hour, this, you can go right here and click last slide, and it'll send you right back to where you were in the presentation. So you never have to feel nervous about, oh, if I click that, I'm going to have to go and scroll back up and find where I was, because you're going to see this presentation has 100+ slides in there. There's a lot of them because we cover so many different products right in the same pivot presentation, okay? So that being said, I'm just going to move on. Again, all I'm doing is flowing through the time. And I'm going through here talking about some different facts. I can go to the resource guide at any time I want to. And I also can go into these blocks down here that I'm going to show you in just a second, okay? The ABCD blocks. That's one of the methods here, the secret sauce on why this premium, easy to say today, I've been on too many calls. This presentation works well for you. So I'm walking through here talking about the agent's roles. I want to understand longevity planning, and I want to help you really shop for coverage. And one of the things we do here is we show that we have a lot of products available. This is, again, to keep my client at ease, to say, I'm not just going to come in and pound one product down your throat. I have the ability to offer a lot of different products. And most of you who are on this call probably are with most of these carriers already. And if you're not, I'd recommend you get them, because again, this presentation is more geared towards the short-term care or leading all the way through to the traditional or the hybrid plans if their health is good enough to get it, okay? So I'm going to show you that as we go. And if I clicked on any one of these, I'm not going to do it now for time's sake, but you can see where this little bubble pulls up. Basically what that says is if I clicked on any one of these, I would get one of the most generic statewide versions of that brochure popped up immediately, okay? So if I wanted to, right at this stage, if I know what my client's health is, or I did a pre-screen, whatever the case is, I could even use this presentation to open up a brochure and talk about it, or I could go down to my resources page and I could immediately go in and start selling any of those products on there, whether it's a home health care or not, if I didn't want to go through and do the needs analysis or tell a little bit about what the product does within my presentation. So lots of good things you can do with this plan, again, using that resource tab, and again, using within the presentation itself, these little bubbles to be able to go out and open up the brochure if you need to. Most of you aren't going to do that. Most of you are going to go from this stage and just say, I offer all these different products. I want to make sure you know that I'm going to try to talk to you a little bit about your health today and see if we can get you a plan, because that's really the steps of the product. The first thing is, what type of products do you qualify for? Remember I mentioned earlier that you buy this more with your health than you do with your checkbook. So it's pretty important that I do that. And then after I find out what products you'll qualify for, then I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about what type of protection you want, where your family situation is, and how we can go in there and get you covered, okay? Now you notice on this slide, we still have our little page down here, but we also have a needs analysis form. I could open that up, and that's just basically a needs analysis that walks through and asks health questions, etc. I'm not going to go through that necessarily today, but it is available if I want to open that right up from within my presentation. And I also have something called InstaPivot there, and this InstaPivot is a really nice underwriting tool that I'll talk about as we get into the health questions. But I did put a link to it right away this early in the presentation in case you wanted to go and start winging it on the health questions without going through the actual health questions in the presentation, okay? So a lot of flexibility. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for you to go through and be successful here in the early stages. So the first thing I'm going to do now is, I talked about binding it with your health. The next thing I do is I talk about the fact that I want my agent to pull down their defenses. A lot of people are hesitant in America. We have a lot of people who are living longer but sicker. A lot of people don't like to talk to insurance agents because of the fact they're afraid of what their health is going to look like, and they're a little bit embarrassed about it, to be frank. Some people are going, oh, you know what, I probably won't qualify for coverage anyway. So the first thing I want to do is stop them from pot roasting on you and stop them from wondering what they're going to make for dinner. I want to pull down their defenses and say, the first thing I want to make sure you realize, you buy it with your health, but remember, I've got a great group of products for you. So regardless of your health, I've got something that I think you'll be really pleased with. So as of now, I'm talking to you, and I've talked to you before. You're not living in assisted living or a nursing home, right? And right now, there's things called activities of daily living, like bathing, dressing, eating, and all that stuff. You don't need help with any of that right now, right? And most people you talk to obviously aren't going to need help with that at this point. So if they can answer no to that, you know right away, saying, hey, relax. You know what? If we're talking on the phone and this evening, grab a glass of wine, sit back, and let's just talk for a little bit, because the good news is, I guarantee you, I've got some type of product that can help you out. Okay, so now if you don't mind, I'm going to ask a little bit more detailed questions to see what scale of coverage we can get you, because obviously these insurance companies are going to look at what health issues you have in determining what products are available. Does that make sense? Then I can go in here and talk about these major conditions. And I would recommend using this screen before I go over to the InstaPivot that I'll show you, because these are the major knockouts for the long-term care type products out there. So if somebody has AIDS or Alzheimer's or some of these major conditions, Parkinson's by and large for most carriers, even the short-term care products aren't going to be able to offer you help with that. So a lot of times, if they have these major conditions on this first screen here, you're going to know that there might be an issue where long-term care is probably not in the picture almost assuredly, okay? I can go over here and click this link and see the Mutual of Omaha underwriting guide and see everything I need to know if I want to dive in deeper. But most of the time we keep it simple. And if they have something like this, it's probably a knockout. Then I'm going to start my pivot, okay? Because if they are not going to get long-term care, guess what? If they're healthy enough, I'm going to jump a few slides ahead. If they're healthy enough, I can go in and sell the whole long-term care pitch. That's what most of this presentation is, talking about long-term care and why it's important, okay? So that's the beauty of this, is if they're healthy and they don't have any issues with these problems, I can keep going on in the presentation and sell long-term care or one of those hybrid plans, right? That's ideal. Most of the people, if I'm talking to them at age 65 or 70 though, are going to end up having some type of conditions that might stop them from getting long-term care. And that's what the pivot presentation is designed to do, to save you time and make sure you make the most of every opportunity to help people. Okay, so let's pretend that the person here says, oh, we have some major issues. Okay, now I know if they have major issues at this point, I can go right away and pivot down. D, I did this in order, not because of the product quality, but because of the health. D is the most lenient plan we have. If I push D and they say, boy, I got a lot of health conditions. You know what? I've got several things on here that are worrying me already. I can push D at any time and it'll knock me right over to the True Freedom. This is available in all 50 states. This is a non-insurance product, and I can go through and walk them through the entire process for True Freedom. Okay, and again, you'll see here, True Freedom, I can click open a brochure at any time, or I can go right to the e-app and start filling out the enrollment online from the True Freedom at any point during this presentation. Or I can click here and go back to the health area if I want to, okay? So now I'm at the ever in the last 10 years, and let's pretend I go to True Freedom. Even the home health care, if you're familiar with the home health care products, those are very simple as well, right? If I have some issues with any of these big things, I can get home health care. Most of the time, Manhattan Life, for example, has only those 2 health questions, and the other ones have just one more cognitive impairment question. So you can see there, you could pivot right to the C block and go right to the home health care as well. And I'm going to do that in a minute on the next slide. But let's pretend they look like they got through this first slide, so I'm looking good. Then we say, do you mind if I take a little bit of a closer look? And here's where we have memory loss. And this one asks a lot more questions here. And this was the way that it always worked when the old pivot presentation, I had underwriting guides for all the different products down here. Remember that? And if you were on those calls, it was great. It was easy to look at all the different underwriting guides, but you still felt a little bit cumbersome. Now with this one, you can click on the Insta Pivot, and that Insta Pivot's going to bring you immediately over. The Insta Pivot is this tool that we designed. This is a living, breathing tool, and I know there might be a delay because it's a webinar, but hopefully you can see this. And this Insta Pivot tool, I'm going to refresh it just because when it's open for a long time, it sometimes will delay, but here's how it would freshly open on your screen. And basically, this tool is so strong, I'm going to spend a minute here to show you why this is one of the keys to our new pivot presentation. Because that Insta Pivot icon was in the presentation, it clicks me over and opens this up immediately. And basically what this has here, all the different products that we showed you besides the traditional long-term care and the hybrid plans are on this Insta Pivot tool. And again, it has True Freedom on the far left because that's the most lenient, then Manhattan Life Home Care Select, then the GTL Home Care, then it has Aetna's Home Care Plus on there even, and then we have Manhattan's full short-term care plan that has facility and home care, Wellaby, Critical Cash, Aetna's Recovery Care, short-term care, and GTL short-term care. That's just in case you can't read it today. This looks really confusing, but it isn't. Because one of the things I want to show you is how strong this is. If you don't represent some of these products, all you have to do is go up here to the product area, click on that box, and if you want to, this is like Stratasys, it shows a bunch of products, but let's say you're saying, I don't offer Aetna's Home Care Plus, and I don't want to offer Critical Cash for some reason, okay? If you don't have those on there, you notice they just disappear up here and make it real easy for you. So you can show all the products or you can show 2 products, whatever you want to do, just like Stratasys, right? The nice thing about this is that it offers a real handy way to go in and say, what products are available in the state of the resident I'm talking to or going to talk to. If I'm in Iowa, you can see everything turns green because all those products are available in Iowa. But if I was up here in Connecticut, guess what? Connecticut only has a couple to offer you. So it's a real easy way to go in and find out which products are available in any given state. If I do Alabama, as of today, Alabama is not available for the Wellaby short-term care plan, okay? When it becomes available, on March 1st, they're coming up to 24 states, and I think Alabama might be one of them. On March 1st, you'll go into this tool, and guess what? This will turn green. This is a living, breathing tool that's always available to you and always up to date. And one of the nice things you'll see about this is if I want to look closer for additional information, right in my tool, I can do state availability for Omniflex, for example. I can get a brochure. I can look at an Excel rate calculator if I wanted to, frequently asked questions, underwriting, or a medication list. So all that's available for each of these plans. And you can see the age bands are there as well. So again, I'm spending some time on this because this is a really valuable tool. One of the things that agencies have loved about the pivot presentation is that we now have the InstaPivot available just with the simple click of a button. Okay. More importantly, what this does is all these checks and X's down here, this is the beauty of this thing in the Methador Madness is that there's 45 different rows down here that cover every different health condition for all these different policies. And I can go down here and scroll. You notice the first one, you probably can't read it. It says, do you need assistance with activities of daily living, or are you living in an assisted living, nursing home, or some other health facility? If you are, guess what? We missed the boat. Every company is going to say we can't offer you insurance. You already missed that boat. Your house is on fire, right? But if you go down and say, what if you just said, hey, I'm not getting care right now, but I do have dementia, I'm cognitively impaired. Guess what? We already have 2 carriers that'll still take care of you as long as you're not receiving care yet. True Freedom and Manhattan's Home Healthcare Select. Then if you go down further, the conditions get more and more, and you can see the X's and check marks start switching. But I don't want you to scroll down and have to read all these to find out what health conditions your client has. Remember, in my pivot presentation, I was saying, hey, what kind of health conditions do you have? All I have to do is go up here to the keywords and I can type in different conditions. Let's say somebody says I have COPD. I can click that, check it, and all the different rows will disappear besides the one that deals with COPD. And watch this. I have an Alabama client. They just told me they had COPD. And I look at it and say, well, I can offer you some great products still. I have the Manhattan Omniflex plan available, or we have some of these home health care only plans or True Freedom available. You can see over here, obviously, some of the major short-term care full-blown plans won't be able to deal with COPD. I can add additional things to this. Let's say I had a TIA on top of that. I can check that TIA box, and for the same client, it'll show me TIA as well. So all I have to do is look for products that have 2 check marks. I could add additional conditions there as well. Or I can go up here and clear that out, and it'll bring me back to my full list of conditions. So if I make a mistake or whatever, I can quickly clear that. So you see the nice part about this, if I have any different condition, all I have to do is start typing it in, and it'll show me there's multiple sclerosis. And if I have MS, I can quickly see I can still get Omniflex Limited Plan, or I can get True Freedom Manhattan or GTL. So this is going to save you a ton of time from having to open up all these different things. And I'll be honest, I built this as an internal tool with my team because we were tired of going through all the underwriting guides when we were talking to agents. So we built this tool internally for ourselves first, and now we know that it has so much value for an agent in the field. I think a lot of you will really like it. If you want to look at medications, we have all 1,000+ medications that Aetna has in their full drug underwriting guide, and you can go in there and click a medication, and it'll show you exactly which products will take it, etc. Okay, I'm just going to go in and just click a random one to see what we end up with here. You can see there if I clicked on, I can't even read what it is, Actimera for any condition, I can still get the Omniflex plans, I can still get Manhattan Life, I can't get the Aetna plan. And if there's nothing there, it's by health condition. Are you using it for something that's knocked out? So when you get to the meds, there's going to be some gaps in your coverage because of the fact that some of the meds, the companies don't address it. They just go by health conditions only. So it's a nice little tool for you. I promise you this. This thing is going to help you in so many ways if you're out in the field. And as far as a pivot presentation, watch what it can do. I quickly found out which ones it'll do. Then all I have to do is go back to my presentation and I can say, okay, well, thanks for that help. Now I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to go into my presentation and I'm going to be able to click on which one of these blocks that I can use using my InstaPivot, okay? So my A block here is going to go to short-term care plans, and I'll show you that in a second. My B block is going to go to the critical cash plan. My C is going to go to home health care only. So let's pretend somebody's got a few extra health conditions, like I showed you earlier, COPD, and I need to do home health care. And I can say, okay, we've got some great things here. Let's talk about home health care protection. I've got GTL and Manhattan Life, and as a matter of fact, they both have some separate conditions, some separate policies depending on state. So I go to the next one, and it shows plan availability, and I can see here based on the plan, or in my InstaPivot tool, remember it shows me which states it's available. I can quickly click on the brochure and find out more. Okay, so let's say I'm looking at GTL, and they're in one of these states here with my client, whether I'm doing this live or over the internet with them. I can click on the GTL here, and when I do that, it'll walk right in to say, let's talk about home care protection, and it'll show that GTL brochure so you know you're in the right spot. Okay, I can walk through this. I can go to my resources, or I can go back to my health conditions at any time, or I could go to any other product line, but I'm going to say I want to talk about GTL home care, and you're going to see here it'll walk you through the presentation showing you the power of the GTL home care, which of course I'm not going to spend the time on this webinar to do, but for your client it'll walk you through exactly what you need to know and how powerful this plan is for you and for them. Okay, so all the optional riders are on there, and again, the key to this presentation, remember this, if you remember nothing else, whenever you get to let's design a personalized plan for you, don't keep clicking down because you're going to move into another product that you may not have wanted to, and it'll look confusing for your client. So whenever you see let's design a personalized plan for you, you can either go to a different product line using A, B, C, D. You can go back to the health area, or hopefully you'll say, hey, what did you think of that GTL short-term care? That's so simple. 2 questions on the underwriting basically, or 3. We can go there and get that done, and you can click on this big logo at the bottom of any of these screens. Notice it's here for all these different products or all these different slides. All you have to do is click on that and it would walk you over. I'm not going to do it today for time's sake, but it would walk you over to the eApp area for GTL, and you'd be able to start the online process. Some of these you obviously need a login as an agent, but most you'll have that already in place. So it'll be a real quick way right from the presentation to go in there and start selling. That was the GTL home care. If I would have clicked the GTL old version, it would walk you through that whole thing. And if I were to click the Manhattan Life, it would have went right to this screen. So see how easy that is? And I can do it this way, I guess, easier. If I clicked on here, the home healthcare select, it would walk me right down to the home healthcare select area. So you're not having to go through those different slides by clicking on it. You're going to be able to get right to where you want to be. Okay, so that was the home healthcare. Now, if I wanted to click the True Freedom, we already did. If I wanted to click critical cash, I can click on here, and critical cash is a neat little CI policy that walks through and has a lot of long-term care flavor to it. And again, today, remember I said this could be a 4-hour presentation. I'm not going to walk you through the entire thing, but this does a good job of showing the power of the GTL critical cash if you decide to sell that. And again, all of this is in your InstaPivot, so you'll know based on their health which plan they can apply for and have a good shot of getting, if not a guaranteed shot of getting. Okay, so again, when it gets to the point where I'm just going to zoom through, so it says let's design a plan for you. If I don't want to go through all the slides, I can click my logo here and go right to GTL. But let's design a personalized plan for you. Once you hit that slide, then you know don't go any further, right? You'd be able to go back to the health questions, you'd be able to go to your resources, or you can go to another product line, okay? So let's pretend they were pretty healthy, but they weren't healthy enough to get long-term care insurance. This is where a lot of you are going to spend some time, because these are super powerful plans. Remember, I say short-term care plans are the worst quality of them is that they're named short-term care, because these plans can be super robust. I can develop $1 million plan with Omniflex, for example. So they can be super strong plans for your clients. And the underwriting is way, way, way easier than what you have for the other products out there in long-term care in that arena. So you can see here we have Omniflex, Recover Cash, short-term. I can click any one of these and go right to the area if I wanted to. Otherwise, if I don't want to go right to the product area, I can just click down and I can see a needs analysis. This is going to build a need for short-term care, because remember, I didn't get into it in the long-term care area, so now I'm going to develop the need in the short-term care area. Make sense? Just like we did with Critical Cash. This is a built-in product that gives you everything you need to know right off the bat. If I don't want to develop the need by going through these slides, I don't have to, you guys. I can go down here and click on this American flag, and it'll walk me right to the plan availability for those products, okay? So again, I can get there by going through the needs, and it's about 8 slides if I remember right from last night. It'll get you there eventually to this availability, but I could have clicked that American flag with a question mark and got right to this slide immediately if I wanted to. Okay, so we're trying to make this as easy and customizable, if you will, as possible. Now, when I get to the plan availability, checking my time here, when I get to my plan availability for the short-term care products, these have GTL's Recover Cash in 37 states, Aetna's Recovery Care, Manhattan's Omniflex, and then I move this up because most of you won't get this presentation until so close to March 1st. But you can see here, Wellaby is in 10 states now, but starting March 1st, they're going to be in 24 states. So that might be news to some of you on this call, but this is a brand new short-term care plan out there by Medico Wellaby, and it's a nice little plan that's in 24 states now as of March, okay? So I can go in here and click on this brochure. It says, let's click a brochure, take a closer look. That's to remind you as an agent that if I go in here and click on GTL's Recover Cash, it'll send me right to GTL's Recover Cash, okay? And if I wanted to go back, I could do that, but I'm going to go through the Recover Cash, and I'm going to see there's my T-Care, there's my Recover Cash, triggers, let's design a personalized plan. Remember, I stopped there, and then I can click GTL and go right to the e-app. I also have on some of these short-term care StratDecision comparison, which you click on that, you'll go to our StratDecision site that some of you might be aware of, and we have that as a free service through GoldenCare as well. So you can go in there and not only compare long-term care policies, but you can go in here and compare these short-term care policies as well. There's several of them that are on StratDecision. So I do have links to that in here as well for some of you who might desire to do that, okay? But otherwise, you click this GTL logo and go right to the GTL site. So if I wanted to go back to the short-term care, I can do that. And remember, I can go right back to this area here if I want to. And I can say if I wanted to sell Manhattan, boom, I click this button, I go right to Manhattan Omniflex, and it talks about the power of Omniflex. So I click the Manhattan Life, what do? It goes right to the app. So hopefully you guys all see a method of my madness here is that there's no simpler way to go through and jump around, and you'll play with it a little bit and get used to it. But you can see here, I can go to any different product I want and walk through and show you the power of it. And I have the ability to show you the need for it right at the beginning of the area for short-term care if you need to develop the need. So everything you need is in here to be successful. And the nice part about it that I haven't even had a time to show you much is, if I go to that resources page, from almost every single slide in the presentation has the resources page. And I'll tell you what, not only does it have a link to our StratDecision, a link to where to download software for the different carriers if you haven't done that, but it also has e-app logins for all the different carriers that we had on there. Even if you were going all the way through to sell the hybrid plans, you can click on Nationwide or Securian or One America, and you can go right to their sites if you wanted to sell a hybrid plan, for example, okay? Mutual of Omaha, of course, was our primary product for traditional long-term care, but we also have NGL and Thrivent in there, which are certainly gaining ground nowadays. So you can go in there and click on those as well and go to the EAP areas. Okay. On the right-hand side over here, which again, I can't click all these for you today because of time, but you can see these little bubbles pop up to show you that these are all links to go to Aetna's Recovery Care Underwriting, GTL's Recovery Cash Underwriting Guide. If you don't want to use the InstaPivot, you can come to your resources and open up the guide itself for more detail. But the InstaPivot nowadays is just about all you'll need, and you'll see the InstaPivot tool has a link right in here as well over on the left-hand side. So all these different things are available to you in the resources. Tell you what, one of the things about giving a presentation over the internet, if I'm doing a screen share, is that they want to have their feeling of confidence and peace of mind that I know what I'm talking about. And one of the ways to do that is through this resources page. This is something a lot of our agents have had success with, showing, hey, pretty much anything you want. You asked me a question about veterans benefits, I can click here, and it's a big document. I can't remember now how many pages it is, but basically anything you'd ever want to know about veterans. Partnership program overviews, no problem. Medicaid spending by state. If I want to know instant pricing using Mutual of Omaha's cost of care or Genworth cost of care, it'll instantly send me to that site. So I'm going to do the Genworth. I think it'll work if I'm online here still. But basically you can see there's our Genworth cost of care. You can see hourly, daily, monthly, and you can click on your given state and see exactly what the costs are for care in that area. All that is simple and easy to do using the resources tab. Okay. There's also this lifehappens.com. I recommend you open it up. It's a great little site that shows some cool things about the need for long-term care and extended care. Again, everything you need to know, from filial laws, some of you might have heard about, to an LTC disclaimer form that says, hey, I showed you it, but you decided not to buy it, so I want to make sure I have something on file to show you that I at least recommended it. LTC rate stability, click on that and you'll see a little article about how long-term care rates are more stable. Short-term care, remember, there's never been a rate increase in any of the players for short-term care or those home care plans for existing policyholders. So lots of good things here. Again, we don't have time today without making this a 4-hour webinar, but lots of different things you can see. If you need tax information, again, updated tax for individuals, a MU agent, a Mutual of Omaha agent tax guide, or a consumer tax flyer. All this is available just by a click of a button. If you want to open calculators, we have all that available as well. All these different things are here for you to make your life easier when you're out there with a client. So again, this is a super easy way for you to go. And remember, you can go back to the last slide that you're on from wherever in the presentation, but all these different things are available for you at a click of a button. Medicaid spend down, I just showed you. We have a critical cash bucket calculator some of you liked. If you ever have to figure out inflation differences between 3% and 5%, all that's available to you here in this presentation. So again, I can't stress enough that this was made to be as easy as possible for you. And at any time you can jump around, and that's one of the things we like about this presentation, is that everything's available to you right there. And if you can show people that you have everything they need to make a decision today and they can feel comfortable about it, I think that you're going to find that this can be just an invaluable asset for you. So our goal, again, is to make this super easy, be able to pivot on the move. And again, when you use that pivot presentation, that is the pivot that we have, you're going to find that this is so easy to go out and offer people, whatever state, whatever health conditions they have, that hopefully you're going to see that it's going to be a great opportunity for you to have success. So, and I'm going to tell you that I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't say, for some reason, if some of you on this call are not already Golden Care agents, you do have to take the next step. Go to our website, goldencareagent.com. It's in the resources page, by the way. But you can go there at any point from there. But go to goldencareagent.com, call us at 800-842. I promise you this, I'm very confident. I've got a staff here that is second to none in our marketing department, as well as our other departments in Golden Care. We pride ourselves on taking care of our agents and making sure we make your life as easy as possible. So we have a very knowledgeable staff who will be able to help you out and be able to tell you about all of our different tools we have, all the way from Strat Decision, discounted E&O, to the LTC selling tool, the InstaPivot presentation, or the InstaPivot underwriting tool, and the consumer pivot presentation that you just saw today. So sorry if I was a little rambled, and I'm breathing hard and raspy because I've been talking so much today, but I do want you to know this is Tom Randall. I want to thank you so much for taking your valuable time out and listening in for this last 45 minutes. And I want to let you know that we're here to help you, and anything you need, we're taking input as well. So go ahead and pound that in the questions, or when you talk to a regional director, tell them, hey, have you ever thought of adding this or taking this away from the pivot presentation? And we'd be glad to listen and see if we can make it even better for you. So that being said, this is Tom Randall. I want to thank you very, very much for your valuable time jumping on. And hopefully we'll have a chance to work together to make 2024 a record year for all of us. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
GoldenCare is always here to serve you with new tools, new products, new ideas, and new innovations, and always the best support in the business to help you succeed. So give us a call at 800-842-7799 and check out our website at www.goldencareagent.com.